Good morning, Toastmasters.
Good morning.
I'm really excited for this opportunity. So I've been with Toastmasters before, but it's been about 10 years. And this is my first icebreaker in 10 years. And I really had to think about, how do I start this again? So there were two topics that I wanted to cover in my icebreaker for this round. My experience with a crappy job. Has anybody here had a crappy job that they've had in their life? Good. I'm hoping you can relate to this story. And secondly, what my personal why is. What gets me up in the morning, what motivates me, what gets me out of bed. But first, let me start in the beginning. I was born and raised in Jefferson City, Missouri, so about 3 hours from here in the capital of Missouri. I went to college at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri, famous for where Winston Churchill gave his Iron Curtain speech. I went there to be an athletic trainer. At least that's what I thought I wanted to be, until you start shadowing athletic trainers. Something I learned while shadowing athletic trainers, it's not very glamorous unless you work for the Kansas City Chiefs or the Royals. In fact, when you're following high school teams around, they're not very grateful young athletes. So I decided I do not want to be an athletic trainer. But the problem was I was stuck with an undergrad degree in biology. So I did what every good 22-year-old graduate from college with a biology degree did that lives in Jefferson City. I moved back home with my parents. And I took the first job I could get, which in Jefferson City weren't a lot of opportunities, so I worked for the State Health Laboratory. Now, I was actually a little bit interested because during that time, there was huge investments in fighting bioterrorism. So I was hired on to investigate samples or suspected terrorism agents. And I thought, this is kind of cool. That is not what they had me do. I got placed in the parasitology ward. Basically what that means is I got to process poop samples and look for parasites underneath a microscope. So when I say a crappy job, I literally meant a crappy job. Now, what's interesting about that is I did learn a lot. One thing I learned most out of that job was if you're ever going to Neosho, Missouri, bring your own water. We got more samples from Neosho, Missouri for that. And I don't know why. What's in Neosho, Missouri? But that was my big takeaway. But in all honesty, I learned a lot. But I just knew this was my intro, my entry into the work world. But I knew this is not where I wanted to stay. And I eventually moved to Kansas City. And I took another research position for a company called Intervet. And that is an animal health company. And I started there. I was working on my master's in biochemistry. And I just went down that path because that's where I started. But I always felt like there's this itch, something else I should be doing. And I left there, and I eventually worked my way into a technical sales role while I was working on my master's in business and moved into that marketing role. Eventually, I made my way into a commercial position at Bayer Animal Health on brand management. And I got into what I eventually found was my calling, to be closer to the consumer and into marketing. And I thoroughly enjoy that. So in the intro, what I'm doing today is leading a team of 10 individuals that cover roles such as e-commerce, merchandising, customer marketing, analytics, operations. It's probably the absolute best thing and most enjoyable position I've had in my entire life. And that kind of moves me into a little bit of my personal why. Like, what motivates me, what gets me out of bed in the morning. And the thing that excites me when I think back, and it's kind of fun going back in time and thinking about where I started in that position, the State Health Laboratory, versus what I'm doing today. I never had that vision out of college that I would be doing this, or I'd be so satisfied with what I was doing. And so my personal why is every day I'm just excited because I'm asking myself, what happens next? I wasn't expecting this, so what can I get to next? The other part of my personal why is my family. I've been married to my wife, Kelly, for over 10 years. She is a corporate tax, but don't let that fool you. She is extremely creative, and her side hobbies is woodworking. I'd say half the furniture in our house is something that she's built, which is amazing. You never would pair those two things together. The other side note is, even though she's corporate tax, she does not do our taxes. So that is the hardest thing that I have to deal with in that situation. The other thing, I have an 8-year-old son, Reed, who I'm extremely proud of. He works really hard at school. He's a sweet kid, but his #1 passion is soccer. A huge Sporting Kansas City fan, and in fact, he works so hard at it. on his own, and he's really addicted to YouTube. But because of YouTube, it's encouraged him to learn how, at 8 years old, how to juggle a ball over 200 times with both feet, keeping it up in the air. That's his passion. My daughter, who's 6 years old, she's smart, she's athletic, but what's interesting about her is her humor. She can make a room full of people just laugh, and she doesn't even know why. That's just her personality. Now, I feel bad for my son because that is not him. And he feels left out, and he'll jump in and tell a joke, and we're just like, Reed, that's not funny. Stay in your lane. So, but at the end of the day, my personal why and what motivates me is thinking about those two. I think about how far I've come and how interesting life is, and I know I set that impression for them, and each morning I ask myself, am I doing something that sets that example for them? So coming to Toastmasters is just that next evolution and opportunity to connect with like-minded people, and I appreciate this opportunity to share my story today. Thank you.